Good day, everybody, and welcome to 20 Minutes on Ice, powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. I'm your host, Ryan, and as always, in the co-host position is Nick. We've got a great show coming up for you, so let's get right to our opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes on Ice, we are going to be previewing the Atlantic Division and all the storylines that come out of there. Can Tampa three-peat? Is Ottawa going to push for the playoffs? And just how bad is it going to get in Buffalo? And and to join me is the man who's shaking his head already. He loves watching players chew on their mouth guards, Nick McVicker. Nick, you ready to get into Buffalo?
Do we have to? Can we just skip them this year? Just let it go. Pull a Disney and just let it go.
No, they're so bad. You got to talk. You got to talk about Buffalo. 100%. You got to get into Buffalo. I mean, it's going to be bad there. But
can we talk about the chrome buckets from LA instead?
Absolutely. Okay, so LA releases their new alternate.
I know this
jersey.
wasn't on the rundown, Ryan. I'm throwing it into the rundown. Can we talk about the damn chrome buckets?
Okay, so let's just go over the jersey here because it does feature a lot of silver, and it's the old Gretzky era Kings logo. And it's not quite a direct throwback, but lots of sparkly silver.
Damn close.
It's like I don't know. It's like their Stadium Series mixed with their Gretzky era white jerseys. Lots of sparkly silver, white gloves with silver trim, and like you mentioned, the chrome buckets. I thought it was a cool idea, but then when I saw it in that game, I think they played Colorado, didn't they?
Yeah. That was a Stadium Series one where they both had chrome buckets and they both looked awful.
It just was not working for me, and
I don't even like the Vegas chrome buckets, dude. Why is chrome buckets a thing now? Like, why is this a thing?
Well, in Europe, right, there's a lot of leagues where the leading scorer gets to wear the gold helmet.
Okay, so one player, fine, but the teams don't do it.
Can you imagine
why are we letting this happen?
Can you imagine a creature of habit, like loves his equipment, and all of a sudden he's leading the team in scoring, and now they're like, you got to wear the gold helmet here, and he's like, no, man, I'm used to my Jofa here. Don't take it from me. So, but
I guarantee it's not actually chrome. It's like you know what they put on cars.
Just a shell.
Like the wraps?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's like a wrap.
Yeah.
You just wrap the helmet in it, and they like heat it down so you can rip it off.
I wonder, well, LA's doing these. They just look, I'm looking at it right now. If you can find it on the internet, it's been all over today. But they just stand out. Like you mentioned, Vegas's. It's like standing out. Like you tried to do something different, but it's just not working.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And like, I mean, for me, I just don't get, how do I put this in a nice way? Like, I just don't get why you would want to do something like this if you're not 100% convinced that you know what it's going to look like.
I guess they figured out what it was going to look like with the Stadium Series, so they went ahead with it. And I know they used it a few more games after that season as well. So, but
still, like,
it's an interesting look. I guess it's maybe for younger people.
Pull it up. Hold on. Let me get it up on the screen for us here, Rye. But like, I
like the addition of the silver in the jerseys. I get why white gloves are a thing now, so I get it. Why you'd go with white gloves.
I don't understand that, but that's a whole nother issue too.
I mean, I just love the Gretzky era Kings jerseys. I love the Kings in black and silver and white. There you see a picture of the new Kings alternate jersey up on the screen.
That's via the Los Angeles Kings themselves. But like, I don't get it. And like the explanation is that the 90s Kings logo was so important to this city and overall pop culture as a permanent alternate mark. The crest and stripes have a full proper silver material to them to honor the club's primary colors truly are black, white, and silver. Combined with chrome helmets originally debuted as the Kings Colorado Avalanche Stadium Series in 2020 in Colorado Springs and white player gloves, it is a fresh, new, modern look to the whole kit, which also includes a special 90s era logo patch on the players' pants. Like, it's a lot of words for nothing.
Yep.
Again, I struggle with the fact that they're chrome buckets. Like that's really where I have the issue. I think the jerseys are fine as a whole, but
I'm not sold. It's not for me, but it's really not atrocious. Like it's not.
No, the jerseys are fine.
Yeah. So
the sparkly little gray, fine. Like, I mean, if that's what you want to do with the gray, because I know they couldn't do that really back then when they had the Gretzky era Kings stuff. I don't mind the sparkly gray in the jersey because it's not chrome. It's not like it's going to blind people, right? When you hit the light the wrong way,
yeah.
right? Like it's sparkly. It stands out a little bit. But I love the old Kings logo. It's not gonna go bad on me. So if we're gonna do that, hey, I'm all in.
Yeah, I like seeing the logo. So this is a
Keep the goddamn helmets white.
this is a 4 out of 10 for me on this one. I get it that it's
On the whole thing or just the jersey?
the whole thing, head to toe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the whole uniform, 4 out of 10 for
Okay,
me.
just checking.
Another release today was the All-Star Game logo that's going to be in Vegas. You knew it was announced over the offseason that the All-Star Game was going to be in Vegas. So you knew at some point, as soon as Vegas was announced as an expansion, that they were going to get the All-Star Game because people essentially will want to go and will want to take a weekend there. But the logo itself, black background, kind of replicating the Las Vegas sign. Plus, it's supposed to be inspired by the neon lights of Vegas. It's an okay logo, 7 out of 10 for me. You know, it does the job. It's not going to go down as an all-time memorable All-Star logo, but it's there's nothing horrible about it here.
No, and you nailed it right on the head there, Rise. There's nothing horrible. It's Vegas, right? Like
Yeah.
it's literally just Vegas.
The patch isn't strong though. Like I don't think the actual digital image of the logo, you get it. I don't think it comes across there in that embroidered patch.
Yeah, but it's funny because the NHL, I don't think released an actual image. They just released the patch like that.
Oh,
I can't use anything else.
Yeah, no. If you look around, there's a couple of great logo websites, sportslogos.net.
Yeah, right. But
yeah.
I mean, like the NHL didn't technically release the image, so I can't use it. But yeah, like it's a fine logo. Like it's exactly what you would expect from a Vegas All-Star logo. I'm interested to see what the jerseys end up being. I'm interested to see how they use those color schemes and stuff like that because we've gone to this more like white and black sort of thing the last couple All-Star games, which is fine. It's totally okay. Gives a little bit more options, and then you can have either team play in whatever color they need to do. I hope they do something like really flashy for Vegas because it's Vegas. So don't go black and white. Maybe go
gold and red.
Each division has 2 colors, sort of thing, right? Like
that's
just make
a lot.
it something a little.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but I mean, it's still Vegas, right? So it has to be something unique. So maybe that's what they do, right? Not anything crazy, obviously, but keep it simple, keep it nice, and let's make it a little flashy, people. Let's go.
I expect it to be flashy. It's Vegas. Let's get into the Atlantic Division here, Nick. And
do we have to?
Yeah, it's time here. I mean, this is the Leafs division, so I'm a Leafs fan. Let's get into it. But I really think the top storyline in this division is watching how Tampa Bay performs. I still think they're an excellent team. And the storyline we have is, can Tampa Bay three-peat? They would be the first team to three-peat since before I was born, the early 80s Islanders during their cup run of 4 cups. So can Tampa Bay three-peat? And then the follow-up is, will Tampa Bay three-peat this year?
No.
No to both?
Can they three-peat? Yes, I think they're probably the best or most complete team in the entire NHL. I just think it is so hard to three-peat. I think it's incredibly hard to two-peat, and the fact they did it, I mean, good credit, more credit to them. But I don't see a three-peat happening in this day and age. Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to get a three-peat like we had with the Islanders 4, and I just don't see it happening.
I think if any team can do it, it's this team. And as with any team, the thing that could slow them down is injuries. And so where they benefited with the back-to-back, they had essentially 2 off seasons during that first Stanley Cup with the COVID break. And then it wasn't such a quick turnaround because you didn't start until January last season. So it wasn't that typical quick turnaround for the Stanley Cup champion and Stanley Cup finalists. Now They're getting that quick turnaround after playing so much hockey over the last year and a half. So that's where, because of the quick turnaround, because of the amount of hockey, you could see some injuries with this team, and that could derail. They are also good enough that I can see the possibility of them overcoming that. So if any team, this team, I believe, has much more of a chance to three-peat than the Pittsburgh Penguins did when they went back-to-back 4 years ago.
I will agree to that. I think this team has a better chance to three-peat than the Penguins. I don't think the Penguins team was really that close to three-peating. I think that they were barely close to two-peating back then, but I digress. So I think this team does have a chance to three-peat. I just don't see it happening. I think there's a lot of really good teams that are waiting to get there. And I think the East is also really, really stacked. We talked about it. I don't think the West is very strong. I think this is the year a Western Conference team ends up winning it again. And we see like a Colorado or a Vegas or something like that pull out the title this year.
I feel like Colorado or Vegas may be the only teams capable of toppling the Tampa Bay Lightning, but we will see.
Well, I mean, if Winnipeg gets to the final, you have Hellebuck.
Yeah, again, but Tampa Bay has Vasilevsky. I'll take Vasilevsky over Hellebuck.
No, but I'm just saying if Winnipeg gets to the final, there's a chance that Tampa's not there because the East is so strong, right? Like we talk about how crappy the West was for 2 weeks. Let's talk about how strong the East is, dude. Like think about the possible teams that could be making playoffs. We talked about it last time. We had New York, Washington. Who am I forgetting?
Pittsburgh's going to battle for a spot.
Pittsburgh will battle.
Carolina.
Who am I forgetting?
Carolina.
Thank you. Carolina is going to be up there, right? In this division, you could have 4 or 5 teams battling for playoff spots as well, which means that the division itself is going to be really, really hard. I just see so many more possible slip-ups in the Eastern Conference before Tampa even gets to the final that whoever meets them in the final from the West might not be as exhausted.
It'll be interesting. That's why it's the top storyline coming out of this division. But another strong storyline is the growth of the Ottawa Senators. And are they at a point yet where you can see them making the playoffs this year?
Ooh. Everything would need to go exactly right for them to make the playoffs, but I can see them fighting for a playoff spot. I think it comes down to goaltending for them. They need Matt Murray, who was Matt Murray from Pittsburgh, not the Matt Murray who has been in Ottawa, because he's just not good enough in Ottawa right now. They have a good young defense core. We can talk about Brandstrom, Mete. You can even throw, obviously Thomas Chabot. I was going to say you can even throw Josh Brown in there as well as a possible youngster who might make the roster. Obviously, their roster is not finished yet. And the forward group is the same thing. Very young, very talented. They need to get Brady Tkachuk signed, get him playing, but he is a Tkachuk, so that could be a couple months down the line when he actually signs. So we'll see how that plays out.
Unfortunately, this is another case of Ottawa and maybe Ottawa's ownership just stepping on their own feet, can't get out of their own way. Like, this is a piece you need to get to have success. And if you're going to nickel and dime this guy now, I don't know what he's asking for.
Okay, but here's the question. What would you give Brady Tkachuk right now? Money wise, not years, because if they agree on the money, it's 6 or 7 years, right?
Okay, I like him better than Zach Hyman. And what did Hyman get in Edmonton? 5? I think Hyman got 5.
Let me confirm, but yes, continue your thought.
And I don't know what Matthew's making. I don't think 5. That's what Hyman got?
5, yeah.
Okay. So he's at least 6, Brady Tkachuk for me.
Okay.
And I would probably venture up into 7 because of the type of piece that he's going to be. We're talking, this guy's probably the future captain of the Ottawa Senators. So I'm willing to go probably 7 or 8. I don't know what he's asking for. 7 or 8 million a year for Brady Tkachuk, I think.
Right.
So I don't know.
But tell me, do you think Brady Tkachuk is a 30-goal scorer every year?
Right now, yeah. I think he can do it.
You do?
I do think he can do it, yep. And he'll get better as the team gets better. and he's still getting better on his own as well. So yeah, I think Brady Tkachuk has the capability to get close to 30, if not score 30. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I see him as a very solid 20-goal scorer every year, pushing like upper 20s. I don't know if I see him as a consistent 30-goal scorer. And then my high end for him is 80 points. Like, I don't think he's getting the 90, 100 points. So a good comparable for him is actually in Carolina, and that's Svetch. Points wise.
And what's he making?
Not. He is making 7.75.
Okay. So between 7 and 8, I think, for Tkachuk. They got to get him signed, or else our topic here is completely irrelevant. You're not making the playoffs if you can't bring in Brady Tkachuk into the fold because their forward group is not strong enough.
Well, the one thing that kind of gives me solace that they might still compete for a playoff spot is the fact that Montreal is without Price for the foreseeable future, and we don't know how long Price will be out. As good as Jake Allen is, do I think he can hold the crease for an entire season and be as good as they were last year? No. Also, they lost Shea Weber, which means their defensive core is going to be losing a big piece, and not just because he's tall. And then you look at Boston, who we don't even know who's going to be in net for Boston, really, because Rask isn't there. So right now they're going with Ullmark and Swayman.
Yep.
I don't know which one of those guys starts right now, and that's because I don't know if I trust either of them to start. So you don't know where they're going to end up because they give up a lot of shots. That's just how the Boston Bruins play. So if Ottawa plays right and has a good system, which we don't know if they will, we hope DJ Smith can kind of figure that out, then maybe they still push for a playoff spot without Brady Tkachuk in the fold for a month or two.
I think, like you mentioned, everything has to go right for them. And
yeah,
I can't remember a year for any team where everything on your checklist does go right. So I think
the thing is, even if everything goes right, they finish fourth.
I don't have them any higher than fifth. So I don't.
Right? No, but I'm saying, like, if everything goes right, they finish fourth in this division.
I think if
everything goes right.
I think if everything goes right, I still can't see them finishing higher than fifth. But
well, no, because if everything goes right, that means Boston's goaltending sucks too.
Let's cross the border now. Talking about sucking, we're going to Buffalo here.
Oh,
how bad is this? They had what, a .330 winning percentage last season. It was awful. The hope this year is a new head coach or new permanent head coach, Don Granato. But we're saying that every 2 years. We've gone through Ralph Kruger. They've gone through Phil Housley. They went through Dan Bylsma. I mean, it's just a circus down there, and they can't. It just seems like they can't get better, and they're not going to be good this year. Jack Eichel will be gone at some point. He's not going to wear a Buffalo Sabres uniform again. And how long until Rasmus Dahlin goes, that's enough of this? Like,
I'm done.
Yeah. How much longer do I want to hang around doing this? Like, for me, they have no hope because if you look at their goaltending, Craig Anderson, okay, but he's what?
I think fine. He's not good. He's fine.
Yeah, there's a reason why he was number 3 in Washington last year. So,
well, he didn't play, did he?
He got into the playoffs there.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, like, regular season. Didn't he, like, not play?
There wasn't much there.
He played 4 games.
Aaron Dell was supposed to be a piece for them. You said he's not even rostered. And who are they going with in net?
Dustin Tokarski.
The guy who almost got playoff starts ahead of Carey Price in Montreal.
Yep,
yeah.
That guy.
And then up front, they're still going with Jeff Skinner, aren't they? And
yeah, Skinner. Well, obviously, Skinner.
Middlestat, Dylan Cousins.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to look. The lines right now that I have from Daily Faceoff are Jeff Skinner, Middlestat, Olofsson are line 1. Asplund, Gergensen, and Hinestroza is line 2. Anders Bjork, Dylan Cousins, and Tage Thompson is line 3. I actually like that third line. Drake Kajula, Arttu Rustalainen, not Ristalainen, Rustalainen. And Kyle Okposo. And then the defensive pairs are Rasmus Dahlin and Henry Yokuharu, Robert Haig and Colin Miller, Will Butcher and Mark Pizik, which is actually significantly improved from last year.
But it's still not, you're like, oh.
That's a middle of the pack defensive pair, though.
No, I don't think so.
No, middle of the pack, not a good team, a middle of the pack team.
I don't even put them in. I don't like any of those names. I don't think any of those names are strong enough. It's like, this feels like the roster you listed off there. It feels like a team that has brought in 1-year contracts because they know they're going to be bad and they're going to trade them off the deadline. Now, that's not necessarily the situation in Buffalo, but it just sounds like a group of outcasts.
Misfit toys.
Misfits. Yeah, it is exactly that. And
so they're the Cinderella story.
And I don't think the coaching change is going to do anything. And we'll just see how far down the drain this story can go, because I don't know.
It can go pretty damn far.
I don't feel like we're at the end of the road here with the tragedy that is the Buffalo Sabres.
No.
All right, Nick, let's get into who will exceed expectations, who will meet expectations, and who's going to disappoint based on expectations right now. Who will exceed expectations in the Atlantic Division? Nick, you're up first.
Oh, I'm up first. All right. Team that is going to exceed expectations just because I think their interstate rival is getting all the praise. I got Florida. The Panthers are better than most people give them credit for. This is a solid roster that has a lot of really good high-end pieces and then a lot of good depth. And I think people are giving them no credit, which is ridiculous, considering that they are as good as they are. Like, if I list off their forward group, you got Carter Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Reinhart on line 1, Huberdeau, Bennett, and Tippett on line 2, Frank Vatrano, Anton Lundell, and Patrick Hornquist are line 3. And then, of course, you got Jumbo Joe, Eetu Luostarinen, and Anthony Duclair are line 4. Now, is that going to blow anybody away by the names? No, but you have to think about how good these players play together. Barkov and Verhaeghe last year were electric, right? Huberdeau and when Bennett came in, he became a huge piece alongside Huberdeau on that second line, especially because they can both kind of flip into the center role if they need to. That is big. And then you got the young guys in Tippett and Luostarinen, and obviously Duclair is there too. He's a guy who has some huge potential, and we saw flashes of it last year. Maybe he can find it again this year, right? That's big. The defense core is really good. The goaltending situation is pretty solid when you have Bobrovsky. And then, of course, the guy who everyone thinks is going to be the next great goaltending prospect in Spencer Knight. I would say that's pretty solid.
I love their goaltending.
I think this team is going to be really good this year.
I love their goaltending. I feel like maybe not this year, but within a couple of years, Spencer Knight can almost force Florida. Like, oh no, we have this big Bobrovsky contract on our hands, and here comes Spencer Knight, who needs to play. And that could get very interesting. I don't know if Florida could move Bobrovsky with that. It's a $10 million contract, I think.
They could, but they won't want to.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I love, like, here we go. This is a really good team. So we did the Barks and Hubie watch last year, but here comes Jonathan Huberdeau. Here comes Alexander Barkov. He's signed now. He's there long term. There's no more, backroom questions about if he's gone after this year. He's there. So these guys are going to show up. They're going to play. Aaron Ekblad is back this year. So I'm with you, Nick, that the Florida Panthers are going to exceed expectations. And I think they're capable of knocking off anybody in this division. That includes their Florida rivals, Tampa Bay. I think that was a close series last year in the playoffs. It went to 6 games, but they were battling all year in the regular season for positioning as well. So that's going to be an incredible battle. And I really love the talent level and the coaching in Florida. Let's not forget Quinville there as well. So I agree with you on the exceed. Meeting expectations, Nick. I think the expectations are high for the other Florida team, the Lightning, and they're going to meet.
As they should be.
Yeah, and they're going to meet those expectations. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I feel this team has the capability to three-peat. I still believe they're the best team in the league. They're better. I think they're better than Colorado, and they're better than Vegas. So Tampa Bay, for me, is going to meet those expectations when I scored the offensive units, the defensive units, and the goaltending units for each division. And Tampa Bay is first place across the board here in the Atlantic for me. So those are high expectations. They will be there. No question in my mind.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would agree that Tampa is going to meet expectations. That's not the team that I went with for meeting expectations, but I think they will meet expectations because they are just that good. They are the best team in the division, in my opinion. They might be the best team in the NHL overall. I have a very different team, and it's actually the team on your hat there, my friend.
Oh, boy.
But I don't think that's everyone else's expectations that they're going to meet. I think it's my expectations that they're going to meet, which is going to really upset you. Toronto is exactly what they are. They're going to be a regular season power. And that's it. I don't have faith in this team past the playoffs, but they are a damn good hockey team. And they're going to show in the regular season that they're a damn good hockey team. Their goaltending tandem is pretty damn good. I think if we ranked all of the goaltending tandems in the league, they're probably top 10, maybe pushing top 5, but I wouldn't go there. I would say probably in the 7 or 8 range, but I digress. The defense is good. They got some really good pieces. How they mesh together will be interesting. And then the forward core is very, very strong, especially in the top 6, obviously. And the bottom 6 has some, as I said, really good pieces as well that they can build on. So they're going to be a good regular season team. I think there's just a culture problem that when they get to the playoffs, it just won't work. No, and that's not saying that there is like a huge cultural issue in the team or anything, but when it comes to the mindset for the playoffs, it's just not there. And I don't know if it's going to get there. So I have them meeting my expectation of being really, really good in the regular season and disappointing everybody in the playoffs.
We'll get into it, but I think Toronto has the biggest potential here to be the bust from this division for me. But
they do.
We'll get
absolutely.
Into that. I think there's a huge hole left by Zach Hyman. The pieces they brought in weren't necessarily like exciting pieces. It was more like, oh, okay, that can fill the gap for a bit. So we'll see where.
Well, I like the addition of Richie. I think Richie's a solid piece. He's not Zach Hyman, but he's like Zach Hyman light.
We'll see where that ends up. I think there's so many questions around Toronto, for me anyways, that I still think they're a playoff team if I'm going to put some money on it, but it's like they're, on a tightrope and they could fall quite easily. So,
I mean, any team can fall. 1 or 2 injuries can derail any team. So
I think a team like Tampa Bay is strong enough to overcome 1 or 2 injuries. But as far as succeeding, I'm not necessarily talking about cup, but let's get into the teams that will disappoint. And I think it's just been bad news after bad news after bad news with the Montreal Canadiens. First, it's Shea Weber, and now Carey Price won't be part of the team. I'm not a believer in their coach as well. So when you make the Stanley Cup final last year and overperform, expectations are high. And I just think they overperformed and they are going to disappoint this year. I'm saying they don't even make the playoffs this year. They are missing so many pieces that are considered the pillars of their franchise that I just think it's really going to be a disappointing season in Montreal this year.
And I agree with you. They're my disappointment too. I know this is not what people want to hear because now we're just agreeing with each other and that's awful. But injuries are just going to derail this team. Like losing Weber was one thing and they tried to fill it with like multiple players on the back end, bringing in Savard and Wyden and trying to eat up minutes, but neither of those guys are Shea Weber.
Yeah.
And the one thing that's nice about having Shea Weber is that then you can also have a young player who doesn't get as much time, but has really good upside. Can't do that now because now you have to fill his one role with 2 other players who aren't as good as he is.
Yeah.
So it's really, really tough. The forward group is okay. Like obviously Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, they're going to be fun to watch. Tyler Toffoli, Josh Anderson are going to be interesting to watch. The addition of Christian Dvorak could be interesting to see how he plays alongside Jonathan Drouin and Anderson as well. And then that third line of Armia, Evans, and Gallagher is just going to frustrate the hell out of a lot of people. But I just don't see a whole lot of scoring on that team. And when your top goaltender is out, you need a lot of scoring, and they're just not going to get it.
Yeah, and like their captain's out, and I guess you could say the de facto captain in his absence might be Price, and he's out for
might be
in an indefinite amount of time. It's just a lot of this team is like Swiss cheese. It feels like there's a lot of holes here, and I think the potential to crumble is high. So we'll see where it goes in Montreal. There is a whole division here, though, that we have to look at. So when we come back, we will be getting into our predictions for where each team will finish here in the Atlantic Division. I'm Ryan. That's Nick. We will be right back in, let's say, 60 seconds. Meet back here.
Are you looking for a weekly sports podcast filled with insight and analysis you can't get anywhere else? How about a show with three friends who truly love what they talk about? If so, Garage Door Sports is the podcast for you. Hosted by Nick McVicker, Kyle Vardy, and Irfan Manji, they bring you all the latest news, notes, and of course analysis on the sporting world. Are you ready for it? Let's go.
Welcome back. 20 minutes on ice. As we promised, we're back. Ryan Haslett, Nick McVicker, and we're previewing the Atlantic Division. It's our final division preview of the 21-22 season, and it's time to bring up the board that I love, the standings predictions board for the Atlantic Division. Nick, fire it up. Let's do this.
Okay, Ryan, you want it fired up? Are you ready?
I love it.
Are you ready?
Nothing beats a board. Like even
Ryan loves the board.
Oh,
folks.
there's
I
a
don't
good
know what
board.
it is. He just loves
right there
the
on
board.
your screen. Even the old draft boards at the NHL draft where they'd slide the name bar into the holder there.
Literally, you have to manually slide the name. It's like Fenway for baseball fans who are watching. It's when they have to put up the number.
Yeah, Fenway, Wrigley, that kind of stuff. Give me just an old fashioned board with the basic information. I got a phone in my hand. I can look up other stats, but. And you know what? Another great board. While we're on,
give me the
topics,
guy's name. That's all I need.
A great board was Maple Leaf Gardens out of town scoreboard. That's off topic, but love that one too. And I love this board that we got. Our standings predictions here. We're talking about the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, not the Metro. I don't know who was in charge of that lower third. It said the Metropolitan Division. I don't know what's going on.
Well, let's put that guy in last place with the Buffalo Sabres, Nick. The Buffalo Sabres. Easily.
I want to be in. I think I'm better than Buffalo.
Yes, anybody's better than Buffalo.
I'm agreeing with you, though.
Yeah, I mean,
put that.
Clearly, we're both going to put the Buffalo Sabres there in last place.
Oh, was that too quick? I think I made those too fast. Sorry. Let me take mine off and put it back ready off. And
who's
okay, Ryan, I'm picking Buffalo as well. Oh, we're going fading to black. Oh my goodness.
It's an absolute shocker that we choose Buffalo to finish in last place. I don't even think they're close. Even if everything goes right with Don Granato as the new head coach, they'll just overperform.
Who's scoring?
Yeah, I don't see it. Who's stopping
Who's
the
scoring?
puck?
I'm sorry. Let me correct that. Who's making a save?
What is their goal this year? Win 20 games? What are the benchmarks this year for the Buffalo Sabres? It's disgusting in Buffalo. And is this
how many wins did they have the year before? Not last year, because last year's
this team
they had 30 wins. Oh no, that was shortened. Let's go back one more.
This team could be
33 wins the last full season in the NHL. 33
out of 82. So
out of 82. Yes.
I think it's going to be lower than 33. I really think it's going to be lower than 33.
And last year they had 15 and 56.
Unbelievable.
So what would that average out to? Hold on. Here,
Nick's
calculator
math
time
on the fly. But
calculator time. 15 divided by 50.
91, 92.
82.
91,
I would put them at 22.
At last year's pace, they're on pace for 22 wins in a full season.
22 wins. Yeah.
And last full season, they had 33 wins. They're not as good as they were then, and they weren't.
Well,
good.
they don't have Eichel, so obviously they're not as good. Let's not forget Eichel was playing last year from part of March, most of
25 wins. 25 wins for the Buffalo Sabres this year.
Is that the over/under?
24 and a half. Take the over because it's always.
I'm smashing the under. It's
All
not
right.
even close.
Let's-
I will take that under.
Let's get out from the gray rain cloud that is the Buffalo Sabres. 7th place here in the Metro Division. They're trying to get better, but I have the Detroit Red Wings. I like the improvements in goal with Nedeljkovic, and they got Grice there as well.
Yeah.
Still like Larkin. I'm interested to see what Pius Suter can do in Detroit.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes there. And Nick Leddy. I like that addition. So I like their additions.
Nemestikov too. Don't forget Nemestikov.
Nemestikov.
He's a sneaky little piece that has played really well.
I just don't think.
Oh, and Lucas Raymond. Don't forget the youngster.
Right. It's good enough for improvement, but they're still in the Atlantic Division, and there's other teams that I like ahead of them. Plus, I wouldn't be, adverse to maybe slipping Montreal down here. I made these predictions before the Carey Price news, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Montreal fall to this level. I could see now Detroit doing better than Montreal as a possibility.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is kind of like Ottawa. If everything goes right, they move up one spot.
Yep.
But I'm with you right now. I have Detroit there. We don't know how long Price is going to be out. If he's out long term, then Montreal might slip down into 7th because actually I like Jake Allen, so I shouldn't say that they're going to slip down, but just losing that emotional piece might force Montreal to slip down. But yeah, Detroit has made some good moves. They've brought in some good young talent. Let's also not forget, do you remember Mo Seider, the German kid from the World Juniors a couple years ago that everyone fell in love with? Oh yeah, he's going to make his an NHL roster most likely and play on this team with, let's not forget, Philip Hronek, who's looked really good last year. Ended up getting I think got a 3-year contract last season. Hold on, let me just confirm. Yeah, he got a 3-year, $4.4 million contract like that. He's obviously playing pretty well in a very awful team. And we mentioned all the kids up front that are taking their next step forward. So it's going to be a step forward, but they're still awful. So
I find it's kind of like the reverse of Montreal with Detroit. Like Montreal very much has the potential to fall, and you could see if a lot of things go right with Detroit, they have the potential to move up. But I don't think they're good enough yet to be talking about competing for a playoff spot here. So
yeah, and if we use the pace from last year, Red Wings are on pace for 28 wins.
I think they'll be a little bit better. I can see them touching 30 this year, getting over 30.
I'm okay with that.
My next pick, and I would move them up to 5th, but again, I made this earlier. 6th place for me is the Ottawa Senators. We talked about them. A lot of promising things there, and I would probably, if you asked me today, I'd probably move them up into 5th place, but no higher. And you got to get Brady Tkachuk signed. And Matt Murray has to be better because what's behind him as well isn't knock your boots off. So
yeah,
as
they sent Gustafsson down, eh?
I am surprised about that. Who's playing behind Murray then?
So Anton Forsberg.
I wonder if that's a contract situation.
It is. He's 900,000, whereas Gustafsson is. Gustafsson has 2 more years.
Okay, all right. So again, these 5, 6, 7 teams have the opportunity to move up and down, but there's no chance that I see them making the playoffs. So I have the Ottawa Senators here in number 6, and I would probably today put them as number 5. But they've been locked in. There's the board right there.
Well, are you ready for this? So who would you move down to 6 then?
If it gets really bad in Montreal, I may move them all the way down to 7th, and Ottawa and Detroit move up 1 each.
Okay, but realistically, are you just moving?
I'd move Ottawa.
Montreal.
I'd move Montreal down. If I did this all again today, I'd move Montreal to 6th and Ottawa to 5th.
You'd move Montreal to 6th, Ottawa to 5th.
Yep.
Okay. Ready for this, folks?
Uh-oh. Now I'm in trouble. I think Nick's locking in my revisions.
Boom. Revised.
There it is. I've dropped Montreal to 6 now. And again, there's just so much turmoil. There's just a lot of changes and a
But
lot
here's
of.
the thing: this was mine beforehand.
Oh,
There was no revision on mine.
Nick's.
I think Montreal. The loss of Shea Weber was bigger for me than I think it was for you. And then losing Price on top of that, I just think that the beginning of the season is going to be a learning curve. They might figure it out at the end, but that might be too late. So I have Ottawa. I had Ottawa finishing ahead of Montreal before last week. Now I'm guaranteeing it. Not by much. It will be a couple games, but still.
On the Carey Price page, I really hope if Montreal does struggle, that there's no, I don't think there would be any pressure from the team, but because Carey Price is still, we don't know what's going on, but because he's still a professional athlete, there's going to be that drive. So I hope any struggles from Montreal don't cause him to believe that he should come back quicker than what he really needs. So we'll see what happens there in Montreal. Let's get into.
Unfortunately, I do need to switch these back though. So we're going back to your original.
All right, that's fine. I get it. That's what I locked in. Let's talk about playoff teams now. Well, playoffs. And in fourth place for me is a team that is trending downward, but they're still better than those bottom four teams that I have. I have the Boston Bruins here at fourth.
Me too.
And their biggest question mark for me is goaltending. If they bring back Tuukka Rask after recovery from hip surgery, what kind of goalie is he? He's prepared to play in Boston. He wants to finish his career in Boston, so it's not going to be a money issue.
I'm honestly surprised after all the crap that happened.
He
does want to come back to Boston, but
I guess he just believes in the team, right? He's been to 2 Stanley Cup Finals with them, 3 as a backup in 2010 or 2011. Pardon me. And
I have to think that that's the reason, but like, after everything that he went through in Boston last year, where people were calling him and saying that he wasn't strong-minded or strong-willed, and he didn't deserve to be a Boston Bruin, it's like, why do you want to go back to that?
It's about winning, and he's ready to win with those guys, and he's might be able to block out the noise. But I still like their offense.
This team's not good enough to win.
No, I don't see them. Maybe they could slip out of the first round, but yeah, they're on their way down. They still have Marchand, who I hate, but he can put up points.
Yeah.
And they got Pasternak too, but.
And Bergeron. Don't forget Bergeron.
I love Bergeron. Love Bergeron as a player. It'll be interesting to see if he gets left out of the Olympic equation, like if they feel like he's dropped back that far. Their defense, like I like McAvoy. I like Carlo. Maybe Grzelcyk, but it's like you're just still a middle of the pack guy. So
he's on the bottom pairing.
Yeah, okay, exactly. So I'm just not.
They have Forbert playing with McAvoy on the top, Mike Riley playing with Carlo on the second line, and then they have Grzelcyk and Connor Clifton.
Over the last few years, that defensive unit has just been chipped away at, and now you're left.
That's an understatement there, right?
Yeah, now you're left with all these, I guess you could say, Band-Aids, and it's just not going to work enough to succeed to where Boston wants to be and expects to be. So that's why I have them in fourth. Still making the playoffs, but it's a downward trend now for Boston.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right, Nick, I will let you take over as far as going first for the top 3 teams here. Who do you have in the Atlantic Division at number 3?
Do you want me to just go 3-2-1?
No, let's do threes first.
We'll do 3-3. Okay. Yeah. Just checking.
Yep.
I have the dun. I got the Toronto Maple Leafs. I said that they're going to be a regular season power. I still think they will. I think the top 3 teams in this division are just so far ahead of everybody else that they're just going to try to beat the crap out of each other to see who ends up finishing first. And unfortunately, I think Toronto finishes third. I still think they're very good. Don't get me wrong. I think they have the scoring potential to beat anybody. It just comes down to the goaltending and the defense, and we'll see how that plays out. I think Florida has a very good core that they have a very good system behind, and Tampa, as we said, is probably the best team in the league. So it's very hard to compete with those teams. They're going to be all, I think, within like 5 points or 6 points or something like that. It's going to be really, really fun, but I have Toronto finishing third.
In third, I have the Florida Panthers. And the only reason for that is because I think Toronto's offense is a bit better than Florida's. And I like Toronto's defensive group better than I like Florida's. But I think these two teams are very even. their games this year against each other are going to be exceptional. I think Florida has the better goaltending than Toronto does. So
does that mean Toronto you have at 2 then?
I have Toronto at 2. I have Florida at 3. I really feel like these teams could be interchangeable here, but I got to put my stake in the ground here. Florida's 3rd, Toronto's 2nd. Again, there's lots of new pieces there in Toronto. I just feel it's a bit of a patchwork team this year, but we'll see how things unfold. And yeah,
that
you
means
mentioned,
Tampa's in first for you. So
Tampa's in first for me.
Your whole board's there. There we go.
There we go. For Ryan's predictions, Tampa 1st, Toronto 2nd, Florida 3rd, Boston 4th, Montreal 5th, Ottawa 6th, Detroit 7, Buffalo 904th. Nick, you got 2 Florida teams left.
Yep.
And how do they fall?
Not how you think they will.
Really? Let's see what you got here. Tampa Bay finishing 2nd for you in the Atlantic.
Yeah, I got Tampa in 2nd.
Interesting.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't think Tampa's the best team in this division, because I think I've said it 3 times. I think Tampa's the best team in this division because I also think they're probably the best team in the league. Right? But they also know how to play the game. They don't need to go hard in the regular season. I can see them finishing 3rd in this division just because they're like, we're going to give Vasilevsky a week off, or like just something stupid in the middle of the season where they're playing Toronto and Florida twice.
I don't think that's stupid, Nick. I think that needs to make its way into hockey. And I'm not talking about January and beyond, but November and December, back-to-backs, like you rest your goalie. Why not start resting some star players? I agree with.
I'm just saying, like, they're going to do it in a week where they play just Toronto and Florida and just lose those games just because they're like, we'll make it up in the playoffs.
But like you mentioned,
because it's Tampa.
Tampa knows how to pace themselves, right? Like
that's what I mean, right?
And they did it last year. Just get into the playoffs, and they're so confident in themselves that once you're in the playoffs, they just know they can take care of anybody they want to.
And that's my point, is that I think that they will just be good enough to be in the top 3. Again, I can realistically, I could see any of the top 3 being 1st, and I could see any of the top 3 being 3rd. So these standings are just predictions of what I think will probably happen. It means nothing because I think all 3 of those teams are going to make the playoffs and beat the crap out of each other. So it'll be fun to watch. And then that means Tampa plays Toronto in the first round, and my prediction of Toronto sucking in the playoffs wins again. Boom. Nailed it.
I think that 2-3 matchup, whoever's finishing 2nd and 3rd, that playoff matchup will just be, it's almost like the group of death in soccer, right? The 2 teams are going to beat up on each other, whoever they are, and we'll see if they can advance further. But whoever
this is the group of death in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion.
You think so?
This actually is this is the division of death when it comes to playoffs in the entire league.
I don't know. I like the Metro.
But I don't think any division has as good top end talent 1 through 4 as this division does.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I like the Metro too. I think Metro's easily the second one. But if we're talking group of death when it comes to playoffs, it's got to be the Atlantic Division. When you have Florida, Tampa, Toronto, and then of course Boston, who always freaking wins games. I had to stop myself from swearing there. But when they always manage to win games and frustrate teams, even though they probably shouldn't.
If we take our top 4 teams of Tampa, Toronto, Florida, and Boston, they can beat each other on any night. There's no you can't ignore any of those matchups, because really when they play each other, anything can happen, and it's going to have such a huge impact on this division.
Exactly, and that's my point, is that like you really can't say that one team is that far and away better. We could say Boston might be worse than the other 3, but the other 3 teams they're pretty close. Like Lightning are the best team, but how much better are they than Florida and Toronto realistically?
Well, I think
we're talking 3 top 5 teams, maybe top 6 teams.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You are not saying that in any other division. Like the only team in the Metro division that I consider a top 6 team potentially, in my opinion, is Carolina. I know you have them finishing behind the Rangers, but in my opinion, I think they're a top 6 team. I don't see anyone else in that division as a top team. And in the West, there's literally 2 teams that I would consider top teams. It's Colorado and Vegas.
Yeah.
Maybe Edmonton if they can figure out how to play defense.
And Winnipeg's thinking about doing something in the West as well.
But we don't know until we see them actually score.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you there, Nick. But that is our preview of the Atlantic Division, and that wraps up all of our divisions. And that's the horn that brings an end to this 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to subscribe to the show, and if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. That really helps us out. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryan_H16. Nick's on Twitter at Nick McVicker, and the show is on Twitter and Instagram at 20 Minutes on Ice. You can also head on over to garagedoorsports.com, find us and all the other network shows under the shows tab, and you can catch us and all of our shows live here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Garage Door Sports Network. If you've downloaded the podcast, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, goodbye, everybody.